And I'm live. Hello, everybody. How you all doing today? Hope you're all doing good, fine, and well. I know I'm doing all right. So I am the Realist Philosopher, and this is the Realist Philosopher live stream call-in show. Now, first of all, I'm going to do a little test here, make sure my headphone Skype connection is working. So you're going to hear a little beep. That's just me testing the audio.
Hello, welcome to Skype call testing service. After the beep, please record a message.
And it's working fine. So it looks like I fixed the problem. So for those of you who might have tuned into my last show, I had some audio difficulty. Not video, because all you're looking at is a JPEG picture. So, but yeah, I had some audio problems. But I think I've worked them out. So if anybody wants to call in during the show, you are more than welcome to do so. So the last show, I was answering a letter from a fellow named Derek who sent me an email wanting my advice about happiness and how to find it and how he was being pushed, cajoled by his family and friends to get married because they were all married and they were oh so happy being so happy that they have all this concern and care for other people's relationships, right? My face is pressed up against the glass looking outside because what's happening inside is so wonderful. Yeah, right. So I thought today it would be a good idea to talk about virtue, right? Because I think a lot of people these days misunderstand what virtue actually is. What are virtues? What are the things that we should like about people, the things that will form the foundation, stable foundation for a long-term, positive, productive relationship? And what are the kind of things about a person that, well, are not virtues and you can't use as a foundation for much of anything except maybe a booty call? So that's what I wanted to talk about today. And as I'm speaking, if I come upon something that you'd like to address, that you'd like to give your 2 cents worth on, feel free to call in. Please make it about the subject at hand. Or if you have something else you want to discuss, a problem that you want me to address, something you'd like to get philosophers' input on, at the very least wait until I'm done making a point or I'm done this presentation before you call in, if it's about something different. Ah, we have a caller. I'm going to put the headphones on. Ah. Hello, caller. Are you there?
Hello.
Yes.
Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you?
This is Sid.
Who is
yeah,
that?
I can hear you. No echo. This is Sid from YouTube.
Hello. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Sith is a longtime follower of my content, longtime fan. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fine here in Paris.
Oh my
even
God.
if the fucking politics is garbage here.
Yeah, you got the whole yellow vest thing going on, right?
It's only on the weekend when the communists are free to to do whatever they want.
I see,
You know?
I see. So the yellow vest protesters are the communists, is what you're saying?
Yeah, they are communists, and right wings among them.
So it's a mix.
They are neonazis. Yeah, it's a mix.
No,
But they hate the bourgeoisie and the people that do well in life.
I see. But, well, that doesn't, well, okay, a lot of people have that kind of enmity. But they can't all be communists. I mean, a lot of them are just pissed off with Macron, right? Because he's, a globalist puppet. He wants to, promote non-French citizens' needs over the needs of the citizens. He's got all these taxes he tried to impose. He's kind of a globalist shill. He's not really concerned about France per se. He's not a nationalist. He doesn't love his country. His concerns are not good for France, but good for the EU, right? So he's more concerned about creating a globalist government than he is about serving the needs of the French citizens. At least that's what you hear from the yellow protesters, anyway. The yellow vests.
Let's just say that he's pretty much like Obama. He's a copy of Obama.
He's a liberal there, but not a real liberal, like a nut job leftist liberal, right? Isn't it true? I heard
No,
on.
he's
Well, Obama was.
yeah, was a liberal, but he has the same point of view as Obama. He wants to open borders. He wants to import as much migrants as he can in order for white people not to vote for right-wing parties. That's why.
Right. He wants to ensure that he stays in power forever. There's that as well, and he wants to ensure that his party has dominance pretty much forever. It's just the same in America, right? We have the open borders in America, where essentially there's no border really. I mean, you just walk right across, and you know, the Democrats love that because eventually they plan to pass amnesty that will guarantee citizenship to all the illegals in America, which could be 30, 40 million for all we know, and thereby they would never get kicked out of office. They'd always be in office. The Republicans would never be able to win another election again. So yeah, we all know why the people like Macron exist. Why did you people? I don't understand this. I mean, now my. Now let me finish.
Sorry,
let me finish. Let me finish. Sorry. My view was that the French like Le Pen, but the French liberals, which there's too many self-hating white people in France, like Macron's message, and then you had a lot of people who were very recent arrivals. When I say recent, I mean maybe born there, and their parents were people who immigrated, and then they became citizens, and their parents became citizens, and you know, all those people from third world countries and such who got to become French citizens, they all voted for Macron. And because you have such a small population, you know, well, compared to America anyway, and you've imported so many people, they were able to sort of stuff the ballot boxes with more people who wanted to vote for liberalism, socialism, really. And that's how he got elected, because I looked at Le Pen and I said, nah, she's got to win. Come on. I mean, but then I said to myself, I'm doubtful, because France has been importing so many low IQ, low intelligent people from the third world for so long that the people that like Le Pen might be outnumbered. And that was my take, right? That you know, what's your take on things?
Well, my take is since 1968, it's about the sexual revolution. Since the women got the right to vote from 1944
well, that too.
Here in France.
Right. Well, I thought that. Well, that was a given, right? Sure. I mean, yeah, that was a given. Yeah, we don't really need to. I mean, I thought we were talking about immigration, but I mean, if you want to talk about women,
it's linked because women, once they were empowered by the revolution in 1968, they voted for open borders in order to welcome as many migrants as we could.
Sure.
In order to rebuild France and the other European countries.
Right. Have you been listening to my content? I've been talking about this for a while, but I thought we were talking about something very specific. I mean, if you want to talk about all of the contributing factors, there's many. It's not just immigration, but I thought we were only talking about immigration. If you want to talk about the Wayman, I mean,
let's talk about just migration. It's already enough. It's already a big problem here in France. There's over 10 million Arabs and Africans.
Wow. And that's in a country with what,
in
60?
Paris.
In Paris alone?
Yes. In the region of Paris. It's a vast region.
So what's the population of France? Something like 60, 65 million people?
66 million and increasing.
Okay,
they import the people from Africa and the Middle East.
So it's like...
Middle East.
Okay, could you let me speak, please?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's about 16% of the population already that's not French or French that aren't white French people, right? European French, right?
Yeah. It's Africans and Middle Eastern people of other origins than Europe. Sorry.
Invaders, yeah. Yeah, the invaders, yeah. It's interesting how people call these people migrants when that's a legal term. When I hear the word migrant, what I think is that, they're coming legally, right? I mean, when you hear the word migrant, what I think from migrant is, they're a legal person, they're immigrating legally, but no, a lot of them are illegals, right?
Yes, a lot of them are illegal. Some of them come with the university programs. Some of them are engineers. It's like 1%, maybe.
Very small number.
In fact, North Africa is being depleted of their most intelligent people because they migrate to Europe and America. So they are left with dumb people.
Yeah, right.
So
of course.
How can they run their country?
Of course. I mean, look at Venezuela. That's a perfect example. Something like 3 million or more people have left Venezuela, and that's not a population that's very large. What are we talking? 20 in the 20 million range, and they've lost more than 10-12% of their population, 15% of their population since Maduro, and since things really started to go downhill. I mean, you know who got out, right? All the smart people. Everybody who had resources, everybody who was smart enough to have saved, who's smart enough to see what's coming, and who could afford to get out, which were the smart people, because the smart people are the ones who have resources to weather the storm. They got out. So what's left? The dummies. The dummies. The dumb people are what's left in Venezuela, right? They can't afford to leave. They're stuck.
Yeah, and Venezuela could have been the richest country in South America.
Oh, it was one of them. Right, it was one of the richest for a long time. The problem was that they didn't diversify their... Now, this is the kind of diversity that's a good thing. See, I don't believe
capitalism.
I don't believe in this bullshit about, a cultural diversity. That's nonsense, okay? A country needs to be homogenous in its culture to survive. You can't have all these clashing ideologies, where some people have morals and ethics and other people believe in chopping off somebody's hand for stealing a Snickers bar and chopping off a young girl's clit, all this shit. And they're not compatible. But the kind of diversity I like is economic diversity, right? And that's what Venezuela did not have. Yeah, they were rich for a while because they had some of the largest oil reserves in South America, but that was all they had, right? They didn't have anything else. They just hit the lottery. So when they socialized, and of course when you socialize, what happens? The government takes over the ways and means of production, and they don't know what they're doing. They're just a bunch of bureaucrats and who couldn't get real jobs. And they're going to run this multi-billion-dollar industry that's supposed to be run by high IQ people who have studied for years and specialized in the running of a business, and specifically the oil business, and they're going to run it? No, they destroyed it, right? Production went way, way down. The country lost tons of money, and then gas prices dropped. Oil prices dropped. So the country, of course, declined big time. Now you need like a wheelbarrow to buy a loaf of bread, a wheelbarrow of fucking money. It's better to burn the money as fuel to heat your house than it is to use it to buy anything, because it's like 200 pounds of money to buy a loaf of bread. You can't buy steak or meat because they already killed all the fucking cows and all the animals in the zoo. The zoo is closed because people broke into the zoo at night and ate all the lions and the tigers and the fucking bears and the gazelles and the fucking giraffes. They ate everything that was moving that wasn't human. So yeah, of course, it was foreseeable. I saw it coming.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the people. No, go ahead.
Venezuela, with their natural resources, and not just petroleum, not just oil. They have vast tropical forests. It could have been the richest countries in South America.
It could have, of course.
They choose the easy path.
Yeah, of course. Well, because that's that thing about a high IQ or IQ in general that leads to the ability to see into the future, right? So delayed gratification, to see the consequences of one's actions, to be able to forecast or predict the likely outcomes of your actions. That's something that comes with IQ, and unfortunately, people in South America generally, now I'm speaking generally, of course, I'm not speaking about specific individuals, because that would be a logical fallacy. You don't mix up the specific and the general, but generally speaking, they have low IQs. You need an IQ over 95, 95 or above to be able to have a stable government in a country. And this has been proven time and time again. There have been studies done on empires, on countries, since IQ started to be tested for. And it's been found that the countries that have the most stable governments have an average IQ of 95 and above. So if you get below that, the lower you go, the more unstable the government's going to be. And once you get around like 85, 80, well, no, you can't. I mean, that would be like having Forrest Gump trying to run the country, right? I mean, his greatest skill, he could put a gun together real fast. And by the way, that movie was bunk, okay? Because Forrest Gump, they had him in the army. Remember, he was in. Did you see that movie, Forrest Gump? Yeah, he was in the military. Yeah, but that was bullshit, because you have to have an 85 IQ or above. They have a cutoff point, right? If your IQ is below 85, you can't get in. So he had like a 75 IQ. So that was bullshit right there, right? And then he became a millionaire? Give me a fucking break. There's no people out there, unless they're like these fucking warlord dictators, there's no people out there that are millionaires that have 75 IQs, okay? It's just not going to happen. And even as a fucking warlord or something, you'd have to have a high intelligence, right? To understand tactics and politics and such, and to be able to outmaneuver your enemies and such. It's not going to happen. You'll find me, somebody with Down's syndrome, you'll find me a retarded person that's a millionaire, and then I'll say, maybe I'm wrong, but I haven't met any retards that are millionaires, including Forrest Gump, who was supposedly just low IQ, but not retarded. But, you know, it's a fucking movie, huh? And there was a book, by the way. The book was better. If people don't know this, but Forrest Gump was a book before it was a movie, and the book was better, yeah.
My take on low IQ people is that because they have low IQ, they rely on their lizard brain. They function on instincts more than intelligence.
Right. Resources, acquire resources, survival, path of least resistance, inability to defer gratification because they're focused upon only that which they need to survive. Right, the higher plane of thought that gets into meaning of life and all that. No, that's beyond them. Okay,
it's pain and pleasure.
Right.
And pleasure.
Right. And of course, you know, if you talk to a leftist, they'll tell you that IQ is irrelevant. Right? Oh, there's no such a, or they'll tell you that it's not racial, right? Or it's just it's a construct. The test itself is racially biased. Why is it racially biased? Because black people and brown people don't do as good as whites. Why do you think that is? Because a white man made the test. But wait a second. Now, why do you think it is that whites are doing better on this test? Doesn't that mean that there's some kind of difference between the races that affects their cognitive abilities? You know, blue screen. When you start getting that specific, right? Because now you're trying to get them to go outside the dogmatic parrot mindset that they have that just memorized all these talking points and they really can't think for themselves. So you try to get them outside that. What do? They call you racist, right? You're a racist! You hate black people! No! I like black people just fine. I just am red-pilled to the reality of the world. People are different. It's very interesting, by the way. They want to talk about how, you know, diversity is great. Well, what does that mean when you say diversity is great? It means that, well, what their belief is that you take all these people that are different. Wait a second, I thought you said everyone's the same. So right there you have a contradiction, right? I mean, these people clearly don't understand the most simple laws of logic, right? Non-contradiction, identity, excluded middle, okay? These two things contradict each other, right? You can't say that everybody's the same and then say that, oh, diversity's great because all these different people are coming together and mixing them up. Wait, mixing what? But they're all the same. You're not mixing things if they're the same. The idea of mixing is that you're taking different things and you're throwing them all together, right? That's like a fruit salad, right? A fruit salad is, which by the way I can't stand, but you know, you got all these different fruits, right? It's a diverse bowl of fruit. Well, that's because there's different fruits. Well, you can't say that everybody's the same and then say diversity is a good thing, because that contradicts your argument that people are fundamentally the same, a blank canvas just waiting to be painted on, right?
Yeah.
So when
the only thing we have in the only thing we have in common between each humans is we are born, we grow up, and we die. That's the only thing in common we have between each other. That's all.
Well, I mean, we share certain, you know, wants, needs, traits, of course, because we're all human. But I think what people don't understand is that there's also fundamental differences between humans, that race is not a construct, right? Race is not a construct. It's a real thing. I mean, what do they think Neanderthals were? Oh, they were just humans that had big noses. What? They were no different. Oh, really? Really? Okay. So if I go look at your DNA, and some people, I think it varies, but some people have been found that have as much as 3% Neanderthal DNA. And wait, so if I can test for that, then, and you're going to tell me now that race isn't different, that genetics don't matter, right? All these contradictions within these leftist tropes really annoy me, right? Because if Neanderthals were a different species, and some people have more Neanderthal DNA and less Neanderthal DNA, then people are different biologically. And those biological differences affect their makeup and sometimes their behavior and their intelligence. Because if you look at the Neanderthal, they were highly adapted to cold environments. Their physiology, their body makeup was designed for the cold, so they were clearly different. So if I have more Neanderthal DNA than somebody else, then I am genetically different in terms of my fundamental biological makeup. There are differences. There are measurable differences. These things can be measured. How can you tell me that we're all the same if I have measurable biological differences from you, including a totally different species of human, and I have their DNA in me? It doesn't make sense to me. It drives me nuts. But this is the thing. I try to tell people, first, don't try to debate with these people, because they're just a bunch of zombies, right? I mean, you ever watch that show, The Walking Dead?
Yes, it's garbage. I don't watch it anymore.
It's horrible.
It gives me headaches.
Yeah, it's crap. It used to be good the first few seasons, but now it's garbage. But so imagine trying to talk to the zombies in that show about complex cultural and social ideas. What are they going to do? They're going to eat your face, right? Because you're wasting your fucking time. They're zombies. They don't hear you. They don't understand. They don't understand you. They just have these base instincts: feed, eat. That's it. That's what a zombie is. That's what these people are. They're zombies. I think there's an old saying that don't try to use reason on people who are immune to it, right? I mean, these are people who essentially have abdicated reason. They believe in feelings over facts, although how can you have feelings about something if it's a lie? I don't get this. Oh, like, feelings are better than facts. But what if the thing you feel very strongly about isn't true? Yeah, of course. They believe that feelings are the best way to discover truth, but no. Feelings are capricious. They're a horrible tool for finding truth. But anyway, again, that makes no sense, right? You can't try to argue reason with somebody who doesn't themselves use or understand reason. I remember I was watching this video one day about this university, and they were studying voodoo in America. I shit you not. Yeah, magic. And there were a bunch of black people in a room, and there were like a handful of token white people in the room. And there were all these women, black women, sitting around talking about how science is evil and science is the white man's magic. This was in an American university. And they were talking about how we need to stop using logic and reason and science, and we need to embrace things like voodoo. And I was like, where is this? Is this Zimbabwe? Nigeria? And then I looked at the bottom. It was like a United States university. I was like, what? Are you shitting me? I don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, what's going on here? All of these universities get federal funds. They get public money. And essentially, you've got the taxpayer contributing to destroying their own country. With these gender studies classes, fucking race studies. What study? He's got brown skin. I got white skin. What do you mean? By the way, what is this bullshit about race studies? You said everyone's the same. You said everyone is the same fundamentally. What do you mean there's nothing to study? If there's no differences between the races, if everyone's just a blank canvas, and essentially you could just draw whatever you want on it, and race is a construct, and you think those constructs are evil, why are you studying and perpetuating these constructs? Wouldn't you want to deconstruct them and approach it as if everyone was equal, was the same? Why do you have race studies? Why do you have gender studies? Well, what is this nonsense? You're essentially saying that these things are real because I'm studying them. If they're not real, you couldn't study them because they wouldn't exist. It's so stupid. But anyway, yeah, I think France is an interesting. It's an interesting situation with the yellow vest protesters. I saw some pictures.
It's a test subject for other countries.
Well, yeah, because they don't want the same thing to happen there, of course. But aren't some of the yellow vest protesters real patriots? Aren't some of them people who really care about... I mean, from what I understand, many of these protesters are angry because Macron's policies, taxes, it's made it too difficult to live in the city. Like they all have to live way, way far away from the city because everything costs too much. They're essentially objecting to the cost of living, which is far too high because of his globalist programs. There was his approach, his very liberal views, and you got the open borders, and that has to impact wages, right? And because of his stance on globalism, he doesn't believe in nationalism, so he's okay with sending jobs to other countries, which further impacts the local economy. And so the cost of living has skyrocketed because you got more and more and more and more people. And what happens when you have a lot of supply? When you have a lot of demand, but limited supply, well, the price goes up, right? So cost of housing has drastically increased. The wages have gone down because you've got all these low IQ workers coming in, and they're not all on welfare. Some of them are working cheap, which is undercutting French wages. And then you got these globalist policies, these EU policies, and it's so friendly to globalism. Yeah, let's just send these 10,000 jobs to Germany or Italy or some third world country. It's so easy with the globalist ideology, the leftist ideology that we embrace. I mean, aren't there a lot of these yellow vest protesters that are angry about legitimate things?
Yes, some of them are legitimate. Some of them, they care about our country, France. They care about the future of France. Some of them are communists, like maybe 20% of them.
Right,
they just
sure.
dislike they just dislike rich people.
Yeah, it's just like the Antifa.
Yes, there are
right.
Antifas among them.
Right,
Yeah.
of course. They're anarchists, right? Yeah, of course. They always infiltrate these kinds of movements, They need to have some kind of meaning in their life. These are the kids that live in mom's basement until they're 30, and the parents have to sue the kid to get them to move out. They have no job, they have no purpose, and they find their purpose through activism and hating capitalism because, God damn it, it's the capitalist system that makes it so that I can't find a job, God damn it, and I deserve to be making 6 figures even though I studied gender studies and dance theory and useless shit. It's not my fault, though.
For example, I've been trying to red pill men about the reality of stuff. The reality that capitalism is freedom.
Yes.
The ability to be independent by yourself, working hard, merit, and
Right.
you will be successful in life.
Right.
They do not agree with that. They
It's
think
self-determination.
rich people steal things.
Excuse me. It's self-determination, right?
Oh.
It's the ability to choose your path in life. That's capitalism. It's what I call it is just what happens in a free society. It's what you do with your time, your productive endeavors, and your money when you have freedom. That's capitalism. That's it. It's just a word describing the activities that occur economically when you have freedom, right?
Capitalism is directly linked to natural. How do I say that? Is directly linked to the nature of humans, competition for
Right.
resources.
Right. It's a reflection of reality.
Yes.
Everything that would happen in a free society happens, and the socialists don't like that because a lot of them are entitled cunts. A lot of them are entitled. A lot of them are raised by a single mommy and, narcissists with, you're special even though you've done nothing kind of upbringing, raised by parents telling them they're great, they're wonderful, and, you can do anything. And then they learn nothing in school and they study something useless and they get out and they can't get a job. And it's not my fault.
Indeed.
I'm perfect. I'm special. I'm worth $500,000 a year. But the capitalist system is so corrupt. You've heard this before, yeah, from these leftists, right? The capitalist system is so corrupt, it won't let me be successful. No, it's not that you chose skills that are useless, right? It's not that you chose to study subjects that had no practical value. Oh, no, it's everyone else's fault. Because in the ideal world, you should be able to use that degree in making fucking teddy bears to get a fucking job that pays $500,000 a year, right? Like anybody wants to buy a fucking teddy bear anymore. What is this, 1870? No, who buys teddy bears? Fuck off. Right? I mean, shit. These are people who are studying useless shit, including philosophy, which the way you learn it in fucking university is useless, right? Because all you do is memorize shit. You don't learn how to think. So it's just useless. Bunch of useless facts. And then you go out into the world and you find out, oh, I have to actually know something useful to make money. Oh, I don't like that truth. I'm just going to blame reality for my bad choices, right?
Yes.
Yeah, trying to convince those people that capitalism is evil is like trying to convince them they made a mistake. And why do you think these people embrace ideas like socialism? Because they don't want to take personal responsibility for their own choices. They want to blame everybody else. You understand? So when you try to convince them that capitalism is good, that essentially capitalism is just a freedom, right? It's what happens when you have free people. When you try to convince them of that, you're essentially trying to convince them that they have agency, that they have responsibility for their choices, bad choices, right? And they don't like that. It's that simple, really.
I agree.
So good luck. I mean... So you're fucked on two fronts because, one, most of these people don't understand reason. So you trying to use reason to get them to understand things, it's like trying to have a conversation, with a rock. It's not gonna be a very productive conversation because everything's just going one way, and the rock don't understand you anyway. And number two, they don't want to hear it because then, if they did hear it and acknowledge what you were saying, well, they would have to take responsibility for their bad choices. Most people can't do that, in my experience, anyway. They always want to blame somebody else, right? Mommy, daddy, or capitalism. Not me. No. I studied bike repair. And at least bike repair might be useful, right? Because you got a lot of rich yuppies riding around on fucking bicycles, right? So that might be a useful skill at least. But, the stuff they study in fucking university these days is, it's a joke. Well, what are you going to do with a degree in philosophy or gender studies?
The They're gonna clean the floor with it.
Right, well, they're not going to do anything, right? They'll get on welfare, or they'll stay living with their parents, and then they'll be activists. And George Soros will pay them, some pocket change for him to go around complaining about the evils of nationalism, right? We need globalism. Fucking George Soros. You know who that is, I'm sure, yeah.
I wonder when that fucking old white guy is going to die.
Oh, he's like the crypt. He's like the crypt keeper. He's probably getting all these secret treatments that'll keep him alive until he's 200. He'll be like the oldest human.
Have you heard that those globalists, they take blood from young people and inject themselves with it?
I don't know. I've heard that. I've heard that there's stem cell treatment where they inject themselves with treatments of intravenous stem cells to regenerate their own cells. I've heard about that, and that's actually a real thing. There have been some people doing that. I think you can go down to Portugal and get that done. It's not something you can do in America, I don't think, or maybe you can, but I don't think it's been approved in America yet. But yeah, where you can get cultured stem cells that are grown in a lab, and you can get them intravenously, and it'll essentially they'll take on your characteristics of your DNA, and they're new cells, and they'll supposedly regenerate your body. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. When you have all the money in the world, you can do anything you fucking want, man. Almost. You can't eat the fucking moon, but you can do anything within, that can logically, reasonably be done. So yeah, I saw some. I was going to say, I saw some pictures recently of you. So you're in Paris, the city of Paris, right?
Yes, the city of Paris. I'm from Portuguese descent. I'm a white man. Yeah, of course. My parents, they come from Portugal.
Okay.
They worked very hard here in France. They didn't rely on welfare.
Right.
And now they're old, and they receive a pension.
Well, they taught you about work, right? Good work ethic, things like that. That's good. That's a positive virtue. That's a good virtue. That's a virtue. It's a positive virtue. I agree with that one wholeheartedly. It's something that young people today don't learn about, right? The young people today, they don't learn about a work ethic, right? Not too much.
I begin to work at age 13 cleaning things. Well, that's what I've done.
Right, yeah, kind of like me. I mean, I remember my first job. I was like fucking working weekends, washing dishes and shit in a catering establishment for minimum wage, 16-hour days on the weekends, and then go to school on the weekdays. I mean, talk about tired. No bathroom break. Wash the fucking pot. This fucking place had all these old iron pots, no Teflon anywhere. So you'd be like scrubbing this thing for fucking 10 minutes trying to get the fucking burnt macaroni out of the bottom of the fucking cast iron pot. Oh my God, that was a nightmare. That was a fucking nightmare. But I learned the value of hard work, and I think that's very important. But I saw some pictures. Actually, I saw a video that said Paris is now a shithole.
Yeah.
It was horrific, because I remember all these pictures from 19th century Paris, and how all the beautiful white marble and all the statues and all of the wonderful 1,000-year-old buildings, and then I saw Paris today, and there was like graffiti everywhere. There were piles of shit and rats running all over the place, and fucking mattresses on the street everywhere. And just lots and lots of black people with no shirts walking around looking like they're looking for trouble. It was like something out of fucking Mad Max. You remember those Mad Max movies?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, with what's his name? The drunk that hates Jews. Mel Gibson. Yeah, that's the guy. And the third movie, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. You remember that one with Tina Turner as Auntie, the woman that ran the barter town?
I have watched it 15 years ago, so I don't remember.
Okay, well, when I saw Paris, and I saw what was happening, I immediately thought to myself, holy shit, that looks like Bartertown from fucking Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. I was like, oh, yeah. That's Bartertown. It's like this dystopian, post-apocalyptic future where all these people are running around drinking radiation-tainted water and trading camels because, there's no more fucking cars and shit, and nobody can make gasoline anymore, and it's just this disaster of chaos, people running around left, right, bartering. It looked like some kind of fucking tribal society, to be honest. I was like, wow, that's happened to France? These riots had all these black people running around the streets with big fucking sticks. And I was like, where are the white people? Where are the white people? This looks like something out of the middle of South Africa or Zimbabwe or something. All the white people are hiding. They're hiding.
It's called Senegal, it's called Gabon, it's called Ivory Coast. That's what it's called now.
Oh, so Paris, there's large areas in Paris that are just black people.
Yes, there is.
Oh, man, I would get out. Aren't you going to get out? I would have gotten out a long time ago. I mean, holy shit. I mean, maybe you have no choice. I don't know, but I would get out. That sounds...
if I go back to Portugal, it's infested by black people too. So
I didn't say Portugal. I meant somewhere else in Paris, right? Somewhere else in France. There has to be places where these people haven't infested, right? There's got to be some areas where the cockroaches haven't scampered to yet, right?
The countryside where there is no work.
Oh,
it's
right.
Like hundreds of miles away from Paris.
Right, that's another thing the yellow vest people are complaining about, that it's too expensive to live in the city, and they're having to live way, way outside the city, and that was what they were originally pissed off about, because Macron's trying to impose this gas tax using the excuse of, what was it, carbon emissions. We need to socially engineer the individual not to use gasoline so much anymore, so they will not contribute to carbon emissions. Of course, it's really just an excuse so I can take more tax money from them and give it to the poor black people so they will vote for me. That's really what it was, right? Fucking A. I still can't believe you people didn't vote for Le Pen. I mean, did you vote for Le Pen?
I voted for Le Pen. I'm a nationalist.
Yeah.
And I believe in French people, in real French people.
That's good.
That's white
good.
People.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course. See, this is the thing that annoys me. Excuse me, I have a little bit of a cold. This is the thing that annoys me, right? This war against nationalism, right? Because that's because, of course, the globalists hate that, right? Because they want to create this one world, one nation. Of course, that would still be a nation. It's very interesting, the contradictions. I mean, all anybody has to do is study the 3 fundamental laws of logic, and they'll see all the nonsense contradictions within this leftist ideology. Don't they? I mean, wait a second now. So you hate nations, so you just want to make one big nation. But wouldn't that be a nation too?
It's like what Merkel wants to do. She wants to create a global nation.
Right. But then you would still have the same... I mean, what about that nationalism? They don't have a... See, this is very interesting. We don't have a problem with that kind of nationalism. It would be just one giant nation, but a global one. That's okay nationalism. We just don't like the little nationalism. Right, because it gets in the way of you achieving your global nationalism, which is what you really want. Which means get rid of...
They hate white people.
Right, yeah, they want to get rid of white people.
White people.
Precisely. 100% right on the money. I just was recently reading a story about how white people are... It was from The Guardian, I think. Of course, they're a liberal shithole newspaper. I wouldn't wipe my ass with it. Not that they print it in paper anymore. They couldn't afford to. They're not getting enough advertising revenue. They're an online rag now. And it said that white people are engines of inequality. Get this. I can't believe this. I mean, I see this in print, and I'm shocked. So these people, the ones that talk about racism being evil, well, they're the biggest racists in the world. They talk about all of this implicit bias. Like this ghost hunting we're doing. Where's the bias? Oh, it's in your head. You have this unconscious bias that makes you racist. Well, how does it manifest itself? Well, it manifests itself in various ways that we have to hunt and search for to find. Meanwhile, we're sitting around saying that white people are evil and engines of inequality, but you're the racist one because somehow black people haven't done as well in America, and white people have, so you must be a racist. Meanwhile, we're saying that white people are evil and engines of inequality, but we're not racist. It's crazy. But yeah, the article basically tried to make the point that, and of course I saw it differently, but it tried to make the point that white people essentially are engines of inequality, and it didn't say why. It was just a lot of sophistry and equivocating. The truth of the matter is, what they're really saying, without intending to say it, is that white people do so good that others can't compete with them, like blacks and Latinos. That's it. Yeah, they're engines of inequality because you can't compete. So you need to have the government pass all these laws to create equity, which is equality of outcome, so that you can then compete. Like, oh, sure, I can't beat that fucking Kenyan guy in a marathon, but if I chop off one of his legs, well, then I can compete with him. Then I might be able to run the marathon as fast as him because he's hopping now. So maybe we're equal now, right? So that's the way they look at it. White people are engines of inequality because others can't compete. I mean, even Asians, yes. It's very interesting because there's more to the success of Caucasians than just IQ. Because there are other races that have higher IQs. Asians, for example. If you were to go to Hong Kong, I think the average IQ in Hong Kong is something like 105, 108. So, I mean, there are Chinese, like 104, something like that. So there are races that have higher IQs. So it's not just IQ. There's also a
language.
Well, that's part of it. Yeah, I mean, there's a creative aspect to the Caucasian intelligence that further contributes to their success, their ability to innovate, to create, that other races don't have to such a great extent. If you know anything about Asian people, yeah, they're very good at math, but when it comes to using their imaginations and being creative, they're not that good at it, actually. And you would think with that high IQ, yeah, but it's unrelated, actually. Or it's not, it's not a direct correlation, okay? Even though high IQ is, generally speaking, what you're going to see in people who are very successful, the people who innovate the most, create the most, they're generally going to be also very creative people. I mean, how much did the Chinese invent, right? I mean, when was the last time they invented something? The clock?
Gunpowder.
Yeah, gunpowder, the water clock. I mean, have they done anything since then? Innovating? Not really.
The sticks to heat with it. Yeah, they invented that.
Well, the way the Chinese get technology is to undercut everybody else by making their currency really cheap, right? And so that outside companies will be encouraged to produce in China. Of course, you have to agree to the Chinese very draconian laws, which state that if you produce something in China, for example, the Chinese government gets all rights to your creation. If you build up, like iPhones, for example, like if you produce iPhones in China, well, they get the blueprints and all of the intellectual property that surrounds the thing you're producing in China. Yeah, you want to do business in China? Okay, but you have to give us all rights to the intellectual property of that which you're producing in China. And that's how they get outside technology, new technology, which they then build upon. But when it comes to innovating, creating from the ground up what nobody else has done, they don't do it. They don't.
Only white people do it.
Precisely. That's why we're taught, that's why everybody's taught to hate us and why we're taught to hate ourselves, because we're the golden goose. We're the golden goose.
Well,
and you have to convince the golden goose that, he's bad, he's evil, so he'll be guilty and give you free shit. So that he'll be okay. So that he'll be okay with being used and abused because he's so evil and he has such a horrible colonial history. He's a colonizer. He oppresses people. So now we get to oppress him because, he was so evil in the past. So he's getting what he deserves. Essentially, the two rights make a wrong, or the two wrongs make a right fallacy. It's a well-known logical fallacy that's not so well-known, obviously. Of course, the left doesn't believe in logic, right? So, that's why you're taught to hate yourself, and that's why the left teaches that, white people are bad and evil. Meanwhile, 30 million white people, throughout the history of the Muslim world were taken into slavery. And, it's more than that, really. If we look at the entire history of the Muslim world since, like, the 8th century, oh, my God. It could be I don't know. The numbers are really, really staggering. How many whites were taken into slavery throughout the history of the world by Muslims? But somehow we're the evil race of slave traders. Meanwhile, throughout the entire history of America, guess how many slaves were actually bought from Africa? By the way, bought from Muslim and African slave traders. Not other whites. The majority of black people bought and put into slavery originally, who were from Africa, were sold by other black people. But we're the evil ones, right? But anyway, how many do you think it was that throughout the entire history?
300,000.
You're right. Yeah, I talked about this before. You got a good fucking memory. Yeah, it's 300,000. Yeah, that's all. Meanwhile, 30 million blacks were killed by the Muslims as slaves. But we're the evil ones, right? We're the evil ones. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense, but the Muslims have nothing to steal, you see. You can't implement socialism in their countries because there's nothing to rob people of. What are you going to go? Go to Libya and try to implement socialism? Yeah, let's tax everybody 70%. I have nothing. What are you going to tax? I have to walk 2 miles to get water from a well that's full of hookworms. All my kids got fucking hookworm. We're all poor. We're living hand to mouth. I have no job. What's 70%? What are you going to take my shoes and my hat and sell them? Sell them to who? Nobody has anything. Socialism doesn't work in poor countries. It works in rich countries. Right? Hey, look at the history of socialism and communism. Every single country that has been attacked by this parasite, infested by it, had shit that other people wanted. It wasn't implemented in countries where there was, nothing to take, right? No.
About the origins of communism, it comes from Paris, the Commune, 1871.
Yeah. Well, there was rumblings of feminism well before that. During the French Revolution, there were like, because the women, they were seeing an opportunity to gain freedom, to gain more rights, and that's kind of where it's interesting, isn't it, how the same place that communism reared its ugly head is also where feminism first appeared. France.
It's because, I don't know, but the Republic of France has these 3 words, liberty, equality, and fraternity.
Yeah.
That's, I think, the 3 words of communism, I think.
Yeah, you got to be very careful. People don't understand the power of words, and they don't understand the power of ideology. Very simple things can take on a life of their own and do great harm or great good, depending on the ideas that you embrace. Like this equality bullshit. Oh, that's so dangerous. The idea of equality is...
It's written in the Constitution of France. Equality.
Right, but there's different kinds of equality, of course. And some equality I'm for,
yes,
and some equality I'm against. Like, for example, equality under the law. That I can get behind. Okay? Equality under the law. So you break the law, commit a crime, I'll be treated the same way as you. Everybody, of course, that's not true, right? That's not true. You look at any Western country, women, for example, they get like 1/4 the jail time. Men go to jail. And not only that, but men are 4 or 5 times more likely to go to prison for the same offense than a woman. And if the woman does go to jail, she'll get 1/5 the sentence. So in practical terms, you don't have equality under the law. But that's the idea. I'm for the idea, and I'm much more for the implementation of the idea. Unfortunately, you don't get that, right? Because you get a lot of white knight judges who, They want a white knight for the woman, and if she's very attractive, he can't help but imagine banging her. And somewhere in his fucking deluded mind, he thinks if he gives her a pass, he's gonna get a blowjob. Good luck, pal. Or maybe he got a blowjob in his chambers. I don't know.
The woman that doesn't even need to be attractive. She just needs to be a woman to have a vagina,
and
cry. The judge will give her a pass.
Yeah, I mean, if she, and it helps to cry, right? Cry a little bit, yeah. Well, if she cries during the... Go ahead.
Because women are considered weak.
Right, right. Oh, but I thought they were equal.
Well,
I thought they were. Everybody
be weak and equal.
Oh, yeah, you know, but again, this is the law of non-contradiction, right? Again, I mean, this. Of course, this is why they don't teach these things in school, because, you know, instead remember when you went to school and, like, for example, history. What did you learn in history? Mostly fucking dates and shit, right? You know, Caesar crossed the Rubicon X date and did this Y date, and then you take the fucking test and it's just what year? That was, you know, just a lot of fucking memorized shit. They don't get into the political intrigues or the ideological differences or why Caesar did what he did too much, or what the state of the Roman state was that allowed him to take power, because before that Rome had been a democracy and you know, something of a republic. So they don't get into that. No, they just memorize some fucking dates. Yeah, that's all you need to know. When shit happened. No, I think there's a little more. But of course, they don't want you to learn the whys and the hows, because then you could then make correlations between the past and the present. You could see those correlations. You could make some analogies and then see, oh, wait a second, that didn't work. That didn't work back in Rome. It's not going to work now either. No, they don't want you to make those connections, which you'd be able to do if you actually learned something in school instead of just memorizing shit, which is most of what education is nowadays. That and teachers that indoctrinate the students. Now, I don't
you can indoctrinate people. You can teach them whatever you want.
Sure.
Because you have the information, the legal information.
Right.
From the state.
Sure, and you get them while they're young. I mean, you can essentially make them into whatever you want them to be, right?
Zombies, robots. That's what they want.
Sure.
Their children to make them.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays it seems like they just want you know, good. It doesn't even seem like they want the tax chattel anymore. It seems more like they just want to create a bunch of willing slaves that'll be good welfare recipients. Right. I mean, it's almost as if they just want to create a bunch of you know, servants. Right? People that will vote to keep them in power just so long as their needs are met.
Well, it's a new class of servants that we had in the Middle Ages. Yeah. We are the new class of servants.
Right.
We serve the master lords.
Yeah. It's very dangerous. Of course, I like, and now, by the way, I like the yellow vest thing. Not the 20%, or it's not the majority, but there are the communists and the fucking you know, no-life motherfuckers who'll just join any kind of rebel dissident movement. But I like the nationalistic overtones to the Yellow Vest movement. I'm very much for the Yellow Vest movement, minus the communists and the fucking, you know, anarchists who were sprinkled throughout that movement. Although...
I approve of it. I am sympathetic to them.
What do you think?
I think they...
go ahead. Go finish, please. You approve.
I just wanted to say that they need to make themselves more loud in order for the government to get rid of Macron.
Right. Yeah, they need to escalate. I agree. And do you think now? I personally don't think that Macron will resign ever. Now, I don't know if the government can kick him out. I don't know how French politics work that specifically. I don't know if there's some way...
I can talk about that. The French president is directly elected by the people, so he cannot be pushed out unless he is a traitor or he kills someone. That's all.
I see. At least in America, you can, like, impeach them.
Because here we are not in a republic anymore.
Right.
The president is directly elected by people.
Right.
But before the Constitution that was approved in 1958, the president was directly was elected like the American president, big electors, and they were able to get rid of him. But he had no power. It was the prime minister that had power. Now the prime minister has power, and the president is like the monarch. He has all the power. So unless he betrays his country or he kills someone, they cannot get rid of him.
Right, and of course, what constitutes betrayal is open to interpretation for many French people. And since so many French people are, and since France is the home of postmodernism, and so many French people are postmodernists, it's like, well, what is betrayal, really? How do you define betrayal? So nobody can come to any consensus, real consensus, in regards to what betrayal even is. Most French couldn't even define it. So getting anybody to agree, first you have to get them to agree on what betrayal is before you could kick him out. You can't even get that kind of consensus on the definition of a word today.
Yes. So
good luck.
Normally it's working with another country in order to invade your friends, for example.
Oh, that's in my opinion, that's betrayal. But see, I'm red-pilled. I'm a realist. I understand how reality works. I know what words mean. I know what betrayal is. I'm not lost in this ether of relativism where I don't know what things mean or what things are, that there's an objective truth and that there's objective reality. Now, I'm red-pilled to reality, but most of these people in France, especially these self-hating white liberals, they have no idea. They're all relativists and postmodernists. They don't know what the fuck. Oh, we'll betray. I don't know. These people, we oppressed them and we invaded their countries and colonized them. So we're just making up for the wrongs that we did in the past. Well, did you do anything to them? No, but my great-great-grandpappy did. What? Wait, what? That's not you. This is another thing that pisses me off. This borrowed guilt. Right? Like, I'm responsible for what my fucking great-great-great-grandfather did 150 fucking years ago? What the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's some black people out there that killed a bunch of white people. Fucking, hey, how many white people were killed by Africans when Europe was colonializing Africans? Lots of them. Oh, but that's okay because they were invaders, right? Yeah. But really, I mean...
Millions.
Yeah, millions! I just love this idea that white people are the only people that are perpetrators of horrible things. Again, I go back to the... Go ahead.
It's basically saying that white people are evil and other races are all good angels. That's all.
Right. Yeah, take a look at Libya where they're selling slaves in open-air markets. Go there. You could buy yourself a servant for $300. Ship them back to America, chain them up in your basement, and let them free to cook your meals and scrub the floors. Yeah, that's a great place. They're so noble and virtuous, these Libyan people. Yeah, right.
Well,
oh, how about those poor...
There was a controversy.
What's that?
There was a controversy in France when Sarkozy welcomed Gaddafi in 2012. They were saying that Sarkozy was a fucking traitor to France and whatever. Well, then he was executed in 2015. Gaddafi.
You're breaking up. I'm having a hard time understanding you. Your voice is breaking up. But the French people are. It's a sad thing because Europeans are further along the indoctrination train. They are further along the globalist. Insofar as the globalist narrative into creating a globalism than, say, America. You know, you got the EU, you've got this grand experiment in globalism that's a failure, if you ask me, and I think most people see that, but most people don't say anything, right? The only people that speak up are the whack jobs, the leftists. They're running around yelling, screaming, and scaring everybody into silence. But I think the majority of people see that it's a a failure, just like in fucking Britain. But they're going to have a second Brexit. Did you hear about that? They're going to have a second Brexit vote? That's unbelievable. Unbelievable to me. It's like what you're saying is that democracy means nothing. That the system of democratic voting, the will of the people, doesn't mean anything. We all voted for Brexit. Yeah, but the people we elected to represent us and our wants, they don't like what our vote was, so they're going to make us vote again until we vote the way they want. But doesn't that just mean that voting's a sham? That it's just a sham? And it doesn't mean anything? Oh, yeah, but, you know, they have to continue to let the sheep believe that they're running the flock, right?
Well,
you have to maintain the illusion of control, right? You have to let the people believe in their deluded minds that they're still in control of things, but they're really not. I mean, what do you mean a second vote? That would be like you elect your president, but other people in government are like, well, we don't like this guy you elected. Vote again. What? But the people spoke, and this is who they want. Yeah, but we don't want him. Oh, my God. It's crazy. Well, it's not 100% guaranteed, but this seems to be what's going to happen. I think that they're going to be very surprised. Here's what I think that, and after I make this point, I'm going to have to head out. But I think what's happening in England, I think what happened was, first, they had the referendum on Brexit because the government, didn't think the people would vote for it. And then the people voted for it. And, of course, the politicians are not the real bosses, but the global elites with all the money, they're the real bosses. And they don't want Brexit. They want one global nation under them. And so now they've been trying to stall, delay. And it's been years now, right? It's been years. And during that entire time, they've been trying to propagandize and to further indoctrinate the population in the hopes that they can force a second vote and that maybe, okay. We lost, but I was going to head out anyway. So let me quit Skype. So don't try to call back Sith, because I was going to head out anyway after I make this point. But yeah, the English government was hoping that the people would, vote for no Brexit. And then they voted for it, and then they're like, okay, let's stall for a few years, and then we're going to try to use propaganda. We're going to try to use our tools, the media, BBC, all the talking heads to convince people what a bad idea it is. And because it was such a close vote, maybe we can get enough people to change their minds that if we force a second vote, then we'll win and get to stay in the European Union. It's all nonsense. I mean, yeah. You think that you're free in Britain? You think that you have the will of the people and that the people have a voice and that they're the ones that have power because they can elect the officials? Yeah, but who gives you these officials? I mean, when you got like two fucking choices and they're both globalist shills, do you really have a choice? A and B, but A and B are the same, really. Except one is called A and one is called B. But except for how I'm classifying them as A and B so I can distinguish between them. As individual people, they essentially have the same beliefs, the same viewpoints, more or less. Do I really have a choice there? Is there really a choice being presented to me? Or is it just the illusion of a choice? Something to think about. Anyhow, I was going to talk about virtue and such, but we're pretty much out of time. So tomorrow, I'm going to talk about human virtues, what you should look for in other people, both as companions and as friends, what constitutes virtue, why it's important, and what does not constitute virtue. But that was a very nice, good conversation with Sith. I greatly enjoyed it. It's nice to hear more about France. I hope that the Yellow Vest protesters get even more out of control. I hope that they escalate things to such an extent that their voices are heard and that the government will capitulate and do something. And maybe with enough pressure, Macron might be forced to resign, although I highly doubt it. He's a globalist shill who's been put in there to destabilize, deconstruct France's traditional society, to fracture the country so it's ripe for a socialist embracing of socialism, socialist revolution. Yeah, so, yeah, his motives are nefarious. I very much doubt that he would leave office, even though right now, from what I understand, his approval rating is 13%. It's just like, it's insanely low, man. I haven't heard of too many people that stayed in power with that low an approval rating. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in France. But I don't foresee him resigning. Certainly not anytime soon. I think it's going to need to escalate to near civil war and outright, combat in the streets with the cops, riots, not something that just happens on weekends, like a complete and utter breakdown of society, of, everything before this guy will leave. Because he's there to fuck things up, right? He's there to cause instability. That's his job. So, yeah, he's there to pillage. He's there to promote pillaging. He's there to bring in as many low IQ people as he possibly can to replace the engines of inequality that's Whitey and his kids. We're engines of inequality because, it's difficult to compete with us and we have kids. Don't have kids, says Ocasio-Cortez. Of course, she's speaking English, You don't hear her saying that in Spanish too much to, Latino people, which she ain't one. Look at her. She's Spanish. She's not Mexican. She's a direct descendant of the very oppressors that she claims to so hate, who came into Spain and slaughtered all the fucking indigenous people. Oh, boy. Anyhow, on that note, I'm going to bid you adieu. If you'd like to be on the show, send me an email with what you'd like to talk about. Or, you can call in, of course, at any time during the show. Of course, it's better if it's about the subject I'm discussing at that moment. But it doesn't necessarily have to be. But if you'd like me to discuss something on the show but you don't want to be on the show, you can send me an email at admin@therealistphilosopher.com. That's admin@therealistphilosopher.com. Or you can actually be on the show via Skype. My Skype name is The Realist Philosopher. You can Skype me, or you can call. The number is on the screen. It's 623-242-2517. So a lot of different ways. Also, I need your support, guys. If you would be inclined to promote the dissemination of red pills. It's not easy because I tell the truth. If you're a first-time listener, if you're just listening to this live stream, you've never heard my content before, you'll see that I tell the truth. Truth-telling is not popular. That's why Socrates was given some fucking nightshade and knocked off, and Aristotle had to flee Greece because they wanted to fucking kill him the same way, because, we got rid of Alexander the Great, and, so your protector's gone, and Alexander's dead. Well, they didn't get rid of him, he died, so, his close connection to Alexander made him an enemy as well, plus he told the truth also, so, yeah, we're going to kill him too. And he had to flee Greece. Truth tellers since the dawn of time, telling actual truth, have always been targets. So it's not easy. It's difficult to build an audience. It's difficult to keep this show going. It's difficult to find the resources to continue disseminating truth. So I need your help, my viewers, and I certainly have no support from YouTube, where I post this, and other platforms, because monetizing truth, well, it's not so profitable for the monetizers. Very inconvenient truths for them because they're anti-truth. So if you could support my show, that would be great. And to do so, just visit therealistphilosopher.com/donate. That's therealistphilosopher.com/donate. There's two ways that you can support the show on that page, so go check it out. Please sign up to support me. I really need your help. And also follow me on Twitch and follow me on Twitter and Facebook. I'm on there a lot. I reply to a lot of tweets. I reply to a lot of stuff on Facebook. I don't think there's too many philosophy groups on Facebook that I'm not on and commenting on quite a bit, so you might want to follow me there. Also, I'm on Instagram. I have 2 YouTube channels. I have a podcast on SoundCloud. So a lot of different platforms, all in the description of this live stream. So go check them out. And that's it. I am the Realist Philosopher, and I wish you a good day. Take care.